Hey everyone, today we're leveling up a classic party snack. We're making pigs in blankets. So this year, to celebrate the holidays, Sean and I decided that instead of making large meals for just the two of us while we celebrate the end of 2020, we were gonna just make a bunch of snacks and just sort of graze on them all day while we're celebrating Christmas and New Year's and Zooming with our friends and families and just hanging out. For some reason, I've just had pigs in blankets on my mind for months now, and this seemed like a great time to go ahead and make them. And so I thought, why don't we level up a pig in a blanket? Pig in a blanket? Why don't we level up a pig in a blanket by adding some new flavors and toppings to them? So that's what we're going to do today. The first way that we're going to level up our pigs in blankets is that we're going to use puff pastry instead of just a crescent roll. Puff pastry is super easy to get frozen, and it's also super delicious and buttery, and it just puffs up so beautifully, and it just makes everything a little bit fancier. So to start, we're going to go ahead, and this has been thawing. I had it thawing on the counter for about 10 minutes. And before that, I took it out of the freezer and put it in the refrigerator this morning. So it's been kind of defrosting for a while now. We are just going to use one sheet. So I'm going to put that aside, and we're going to unroll this puff pastry. And we're just going to roll this out so it's a little bit of a larger rectangle. And I would say, I don't know, this is probably a 1/4 of an inch thick. So maybe bring this down to about 50% of this thickness. So that's what we're gonna do right now. I have a piece of parchment on my counter just to make it easy for cleanup and that sort of thing. Now it looks like it's like broken a little bit in the middle. So I'm just gonna squeeze it together a little bit just to make sure that it doesn't break apart. And we'll just re-roll over that to sort of seal up that little crack. All right, so we have our puff pastry rolled out to be a little thinner, and we're going to make 2 different types of pigs in blankets here, and that's our second level up. I'm going to just use a pizza cutter to cut this in half so that we can have our 2 different pigs in blankets. And that's great. So the first version of our pigs in blankets, we're going to New York Deli. We've got some maple mustard here. We've got 2 tablespoons of a grainy Dijon mustard and a tablespoon of maple syrup. And we are going to just use this pastry brush to spread this on our puff pastry. And we're gonna leave just about a 1/2 inch on the longer edges so that when we go to roll up our pigs in blankets, they will stick. So the next thing we're gonna do is roll up our little pigs in blankets. We don't need this anymore, so I'm just gonna put that out of the way. And we have little Smokies, cocktail sausages. I just wanted the little smokiness that came from smoked sausage. Again, try to level up a little bit. You could certainly use whatever you like. If you just have hot dogs, you could just cut those up into smaller chunks. And we're going to cut our puff pastry in about 1/2 inch strips. So we're just gonna take our little Smokies and roll them up in this puff pastry, kind of overlapping the puff pastry so it gets full coverage over the cocktail sausages. And we're just gonna roll these up and then I'll show you our second variant. All right, so we have our New York deli inspired pigs in blankets all rolled up. And the next version we're gonna make are kind of a Korean style pigs in a blanket with my new favorite condiment, which is a fermented Korean chili paste called gochujang. I just started getting into Korean flavors in the last year or so, I'm not an expert, but I do know I love this stuff. It tastes a little sweet, it's a little spicy, it's got a lot of those umami flavors. So what I did for this version was I made a little gochujang ketchup where I mixed some gochujang, some ketchup, soy, a little bit of sesame oil and garlic powder together in this bowl. I'll put the exact ratios in the recipe on the blog, so look below in the comments for the link to all of these sauces and these pigs in blankets. So we're gonna do the same thing. I need another pastry brush. So we're gonna do the same thing on the second half, which is we're going to spread this gochujang ketchup all over the second half of the puff pastry, leaving about a half an inch on the long edges. All right, the other thing that we are gonna do with these sauces is we're gonna use the leftovers as extra dipping sauce. So when we go and have our pigs in blankets snacks over Christmas and New Year's, we will have some extra dipping sauce for those. And we're just gonna do the same thing, cut into half-inch strips and then roll up our little smokies. All right, so we're all set here. Now the next step is that I'm gonna let these cool in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. It's important with puff pastry that that dough stays really cold, that the butter inside stays as solid as possible, because that's the trick of puff pastry, is that hardened butter melts, creating the steam and creating the layers and puffs. So we're gonna let this hang out in the fridge, get that batter all nice and chilled again for about 15 minutes. And while they're chilling, I'm going to set the timer on, or set the temperature on my oven for 425 degrees. So I'll see you back here in about 15 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. Our oven is heated to 425 and we have our pigs in blankets ready to go. I'm gonna do a couple things here. I'm gonna cook up a few pigs in blankets to finish off this process and let you guys see the rest of our leveling up. And I'm actually going to keep most of these in the fridge. I'm going to put some saran wrap over them and put them in the fridge so that they're ready to go on Christmas, which is just a few days away for us. So that makes this a really great party food for any party. You can make a bunch of these and kind of cook off batches as you see fit and keep the rest in the fridge until you need to replenish. If you wanted to make a whole bunch of these ahead of time, you want to use both things of puff pastry, you're having a smaller gathering, you could also put this sort of sheet tray into the freezer, let the pigs in blankets freeze, and then take them off and put them in a zip-top bag to keep them in the freezer so that you have pigs in blankets anytime you want. Movie night, pigs in blankets. Game night, pigs in blankets. So it's a really great little make-ahead snack. That's pretty fun and fancy. All right, so the next level that we're bringing these up is that we're gonna put some toppings on them. So I'm gonna take maybe 3 of each. So we have our New York inspired pigs in blankets. We have a little bit of egg wash here. So we're going to just brush the top of the pigs in blankets with this egg wash, which is just an egg mixed with about a tablespoon of water. And it's just whisked up till it's nice and smooth. And this will give your pigs in blankets a nice golden color and also help our toppings to stick. So for our New York deli inspired pigs in blankets, we're gonna do some everything bagel seasoning. We make bagels a lot around here. Well, Sean makes bagels a lot around here, which I'm so lucky he does because it's awesome to have those whenever we want them. But this is our favorite bagel seasoning or everything bagel seasoning we found, which was kind of a random find on Amazon because, I don't know, we just didn't want to go to Trader Joe's and we're out of our King Arthur baking everything seasoning. But this one is really great. It's not that expensive and it includes salt in it, and not everything bagel seasoning has salt in it. So love this one, and I'll link that below so that you can check it out. And we're just going to sprinkle the tops of these with a nice dusting of everything bagel seasoning. And then for our Korean inspired pigs in blankets, we're going to use sesame seeds. So we're going to take 3 of those. Egg wash them. And I'll just keep this egg wash because Christmas is only a few days, and I'll have it so when we eat these on Christmas during our fun holiday together, it'll be there and ready to go. And then I'm just going to take these toasted sesame seeds that I have and just sprinkle those all on the top. And actually, since this one doesn't include salt, I'm actually going to go and get some salt to add to this. I have some flaky Maldon sea salt, so I think that would be a nice addition here. And I'm just crumpling it up a little bit because these flakes are pretty big, but they're really good and they add a lot of nice texture. All right. So there we go. These are ready to go in the oven. These are going to go in the oven, I think probably for about 30 minutes. I'm going to check them at 20, and they'll be done when they're really nice and golden brown and puffed up. So I'll see you back here in about half an hour. And we're back. That took about 23 minutes, and we have these super puffy puff pastry pigs in blankets. They actually maybe are pigs in puffer jackets. They're so light and airy. I can tell they're golden brown, a little bit of char, a little smoky. That looks so awesome. I did have one where the puffer jacket sort of coming off. So one thing to note is that when you're wrapping your pig in a blanket, just make sure the sides that are the ends are kind of smushed into another layer of puff pastry. But I mean, that's still going to be super delicious and tasty. So I hope you give this recipe a try. Pigs in puffer jackets 2 ways. I'm super excited to snack on these on Christmas with Sean. I hope you all have happy holidays coming up and enjoy a little bit of quiet time as we say goodbye to 2020 and hop on into 2021. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and click that subscribe button and the little bell button to be alerted when I launch a new video. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Now go have some fun in the kitchen. And happy holidays.